Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, share, and restack buttons. Well, this is Bible prophecy playing out right before our eyes. We're going to talk about some news from this past week in the Middle East that I believe speaks directly to prophecies we read about in the Bible. But first, I want to thank all of you for your prayers. Some of you may not know, we'll address that in a minute, but I lost my voice earlier in the week. That's why there was no video on Wednesday, no video on Friday, but starting to get my voice back. So this will probably be a little bit shorter video because I don't know how long my voice will last. But I want to thank all of you for your prayers and praying for the restoration of my voice. It's been quite a week. You know, just on Tuesday, everything was fine. I felt fine. But on Tuesday, my daughter had come home from school. I go to talk to her and nothing came out. I've never had that happen before. And then that few hours later, I could whisper. All I could do was whisper, but nothing would come out. I've never had my voice completely go away like that. And it started to slowly get better as the week went along. And then yesterday, was driving my son to school, and we were in a not an undeveloped area by any means, a very well developed area. 2 lanes going each way with a big median in between, and out of nowhere, this bear comes barreling out of the woods right across all 4 lanes of traffic. Came within a few inches of hitting our car. This is after we hit a deer back in May that totaled the van. So came within the bear made it to the other side. He's safe. We're safe. But it's been quite an interesting week, to say the least. But while we're on the subject, if you didn't know that my voice had given out, go to this right here. So here on YouTube, if you watch these on YouTube, there's a community tab where you can read different posts. You can put up posts, and I put up a post at the time saying, I've lost my voice, God willing, it will be back on Friday. Here we are on Saturday, it's back, or at least coming back. The same thing on Substack. If you're on Substack, there's a notes tab, and then you can see the same note posted over there. You know, I hesitate to send out an email to everyone just to say, no video today, I lost my voice. But, you know, I don't want to clog up everybody's email. We all get enough emails for sure. But maybe you disagree. If so, tell me in the comments. Leave a comment. Say, yes, I'd prefer to have an email to know where you've gone off to, why you aren't around. Or no, keep it the way it is. I don't want to get an extra email. I'll find out from these things. Or, you know what, I'll find out when your next video pops up in my feed. I don't have to know where you're at day to day, Britt. So whatever it is, just leave your comments below and let me know that. Also, if you missed it right before my voice gave out, I recorded a video with Pastor Kurt Reed at Calvary Chapel Harvest Life Christian Fellowship. You can find them on YouTube. I will post a link to this as well. We did this video on the economy and what's going on currently. Covered a whole wide range of issues. So again, you can check that out. I'll post the link at the top of the comments. I'll also do the same thing. He's on Rumble right here. So that video is available on Rumble and YouTube. Again, I'll pin at the top of the comments links to both of those if you want to check that out. So this is Bible prophecy playing out right before our eyes, in my opinion. This happened exactly a week ago. So I want to turn your attention to this article from Prophecy Newswatch. It says, Echoes of Ezekiel 38, Turkey calls for Islamic alliance against Israel, and specifically Turkey's president, or we can just call him a dictator. That's what he is. He's been in power for over 20 years. Tends to be the domain of a king or a dictator to be in power for that long. But Erdogan is calling for this Islamic alliance against Israel. So let's see what this says, because this happened last Saturday. It says, Turkish President Erdogan on Saturday called on Islamic nations to ally against, quote, the growing threat of expansionism from Israel. He made the remarks a day after the death of a dual U.S.-Turkish citizen during a protest near Nablus in Samaria. The IDF is investigating allegations that the 26-year-old activist with anti-Israel international solidarity movement was shot by Israeli forces. Quote, the only step that will stop Israeli arrogance, Israeli banditry, and Israeli state terrorism is the alliance of Islamic countries, Erdogan said in an Islamic Schools Association event near Istanbul. Erdogan has become increasingly hostile toward the Jewish state and closer to Hamas since the terror group's October 7th massacre in Israel. The Turkish president and his ruling Justice and Development Party, along with Qatar, are state supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood, of which Hamas is the Palestinian branch. Guys, we did a recent video about Turkey and about the stance of Erdogan toward Israel and how we're seeing the development of this Gog of Magog alliance outlined in Ezekiel 38 and 39. We just did that maybe 2 weeks ago because there's been multiple headlines over the past couple of months, threats he's made against Israel. So this is an ongoing development that's pushing Turkey closer into that alliance. And we're going to talk about how in a moment how this could have multiple implications for Bible prophecy, the end times events we read about in the Bible, more than just Ezekiel 38 and 39. It says, in his speech, the president claimed that Jerusalem aims to conquer Muslim territory, including Turkey, and quoted claims that Hamas was not only defending Gaza, but his country and other Islamic lands. Quote, Israel will not stop at Gaza. After conquering Ramallah, it will want the lands of Syria and Lebanon. They will raise their eyes to our homeland between the Tigris and the Euphrates. They state this openly in every map they show, he said, referring to the Greater Israel map displayed by some Israeli leaders. And of course, it's classic for people to project their intentions upon others because he's been showing maps that show no Israel for many years. He says, this is why we say that Hamas opposes in the name of the Muslims. This is why we say that Hamas does not only defend Gaza, it defends on the Islamic lands on Turkey, Erdogan asserted. The Turkish leader went on to state that the latest steps Ankara has taken to improve relations with Egypt and Syria are aimed at establishing a front of solidarity against the growing threat of expansion on the part of Israel. It says, this is not the first time Erdogan has spewed such rhetoric about intervening in Israel. Last year at this time, the Turkish leader delivered a speech at an anti-Israel rally in which he told attendees that Israel was responsible for war crimes and framed Hamas as, quote, freedom fighters. He then went further to suggest that Turkey may need to intervene in Gaza, saying Turkey can come at any night unexpectedly. That's important to note, keep that in mind, to an ecstatic reception from the hundreds of thousands of attendees who chanted in response, Turkish military in Gaza. So he's saying they could come at any time unexpectedly. Who knows whether he believes this threat or not. But note that the Ezekiel 38-39 Gog of Magog invasion is thought to be unexpected, with many countries saying, what are your intentions? It's not something that Israel is expecting when it happens. Says some experts warn that Erdogan is trying to appear as the champion of Islam, much like Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini in 1989. As such, Turkey has emerged as one of the primary antagonists of Israel in the Middle East over the past few decades. Historically, Turkey has been an ally of Israel and the United States and one of the more moderate Muslim nations in the world with a Western-style democracy. Both of those concepts appear to have been thrown to the wind in recent years. And we've talked about this numerous times, of this transformation we've seen of Turkey in just the last 20 years, really. This movement to be way more antagonistic toward Israel than they've ever been before. Really, in many ways, antagonistic toward NATO and Europe. Turkey has tried to join the European Union for 25 years now, and those attempts have been thwarted. Now they're talking about joining BRICS. More and more, we're seeing meetings between Turkey and Iran and Russia. So these are the three largest nations today that fit into that Ezekiel 38-39 alliance. We're seeing the rest of the alliance coming together, including Afghanistan, which just a few years ago, people were saying, well, Afghanistan is occupied by the United States military. How could they be opposed? How could they be part of this invasion against Israel? Well, now we've seen, with the U.S. pullout 3 years ago and handing Afghanistan back to the Taliban, we've seen how that could come about. So all the components are in place. We see the Russian military with assets on the ground in Libya and Sudan. So we see this alliance coming together right before us, right in front of our eyes. And I think this story itself speaks to specifically how this could have wider implications, not just for Ezekiel 38 and 39, but also other end times prophecies. So let's think for a moment, if Turkey did follow through on some of these threats that Erdogan's making toward Israel. Let's say Turkey attacked Israel or invaded Israel. Not saying they will. I think it's probably highly unlikely on their own that they will do that. We know based on what the Bible says that when the Ezekiel 38-39 invasion takes place, they'll be part of that. I don't think that's going to happen next week. There are several things that need to come into play first. However, notice how he talks about a Muslim alliance. And when people have looked at Ezekiel 38 and 39 in the past few decades, they've said, well, this is interesting. All of these nations named in this coalition are Muslim majority nations, except for Russia. Why is that? Well, we can see from the story here what would be Russia's interest in these Muslim majority nations. So let's say these nations come together in alliance against Israel, as of course Ezekiel tells us they would. But let's think from the standpoint of this proposal by Erdogan. It's in Russia's interest to have Turkey engaged in a conflict with Israel. Because if the United States and NATO, let's say Turkey attacked Israel tomorrow, well, if there is a conflict between Turkey and Israel, the United States is obligated by NATO to come to Turkey's defense. Would they? Who knows with the current administration? But it seems unlikely at this moment, based on what we've seen in the recent past, that the United States would actively work to defend Turkey against Israel. So if that happens, what does that do to NATO? So if the NATO alliance is sitting there, let's say there's some way they could provoke for Israel to attack Turkey, and then the United States refuses to come to Turkey's defense, well, then the whole NATO alliance falls apart. It's not just Turkey saying, okay, we're done with NATO. If you're any member of NATO, and you say, well, the purpose of NATO was to defend these member states, but when the time came, it didn't happen. Why are we here? So we could see NATO fall apart, and that's in Russia's strategic interest. So it makes sense that Russia would want to try to bring that about, try to bring a conflict about in that way, and that they could join this Muslim coalition of nations against Israel in Ezekiel 38-39. Also, if we saw the breakup of NATO, and we're already seeing the beginnings of this as a result of Russia's war with Ukraine, as well as the idea that Donald Trump may once again become president and call for NATO nations to carry a heavier financial burden in the alliance, we could see the NATO member nations start to rearm themselves to a greater degree. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that we would see Europe begin to take on greater responsibility for their own defense than they have in the decades since World War II, where they've been relying on the United States. And of course, we can look at what the Bible says about the revived Roman Empire, which many believe we could be seeing the beginnings of with the European Union. Again, I've pointed out that other than being 10 nations or 10 kings, the European Union fits every other characteristic of the revived Roman Empire outlined in the books of Daniel and Revelation. So we could see, just through this one news story alone, multiple implications for Bible prophecy. I believe it's Bible prophecy unfolding right before our eyes, guys. So this tells us the times we live in, the season we live in, and it should fill you with hope because it means Jesus is coming back, and he's coming back soon, guys. So it's perfect timing because my voice is starting to drift away. But thank you again for all of your prayers. Keep praying for my voice. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. And God willing, I will see you on Monday. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to visit my Substack at brittgillette.substack.com. There you'll find my latest videos and articles, as well as notes, where I share the latest news headlines, the articles I'm reading, and the videos I'm watching. Subscribe for free, and each new post on Substack will be sent directly to your email. Just scroll to the bottom of the homepage and hit the subscribe button. As an added bonus, your first welcome email will include a link to a copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt Gillette on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.